X-Men. Get it!
Hey everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of Battle of the Atom. This is your weekly X-Men podcast where we rank every story from A to Z.
I'm Adam.
And Adam, I'm Zach. You've met me.
We have. Welcome back to your show.
Yeah, I missed my first episode ever.
Was that weird for you?
A little bit. It was weird. I'll tell you what. It was weird listening to the podcast.
Oh, okay. Because you were expecting to hear yourself and you didn't?
Well, so I edit the show and I'm used to hearing the podcast after I live it. But it was weird, sitting through a 2.5 hour podcast that was already edited for the most part. It was a con floor. You can only do so much and Adam did a great job. But it was weird sitting there. I mean, this is my thing though. But I'm not there. It was nice.
I do wish you'd been able to go there. So I'm hoping we get to do another con at some point, and both of us get to go. We'll see if we can get something like that going. But anyway, that was last week. What are we talking about today?
This week we are talking about something that was requested to us by a patron, and that patron's name is bum ba da bum bum bum.
Drum roll. Doesn't have
my drum sets. My drum sets all. I'm touching my drum set right now, but not the snare and not the sticks. It's too far
I meant
away.
The name of the person isn't in front of you.
Oh, no, it's Jeffrey Worrell. Because Jeffrey went on over to patreon.com, threw money our way, and said, hey, guys, love you to talk about that arc in Astonishing X-Men when Northstar gets married.
Yes. That
so we're gonna do
individual issue is a big arc, it turns out.
Yeah, this is Astonishing X-Men 48 to 56, written by Marjorie Liu with art by Mike Perkins, and then Gabriel Hernandez-Walta has a few pages in the middle in a flashback.
It does a little assist there.
Yeah, so this is interesting. Adam, have you read Marjorie Liu's Astonishing X-Men run before this point?
I've only read a little bit of it, and I had not read this particular arc, which... I think a lot of people who may not have read this book may have assumed that 51 was a one-shot, a la, X-Men number 30, but that is not what's going on here. In fact, while this is a Northstar story, this is also very much a Karma story.
It is. So, it is kind of broken up into two distinct movements, I think, pre-wedding and post-wedding. I think that's fair to say. So... This is they aren't even a team when this starts. Wolverine just kind of throws some people together at Gambit's penthouse that him and Cecilia Reyes have been having dinner, wink wink there. Which is very cute scene, and I like the character dynamics that Lou does here.
Lou seems to have a fantastic sense of the voices of these characters, and maybe not the same as what another writer might do with them, but I really like the dynamics that she introduces between a lot of these characters. Iceman is particularly kind of curmudgeonly in this arc, which is fun.
I like that he's mean to Gambit. I love how he's mean to Gambit.
Yeah, but she clearly gets Gambit. We saw that in X-23, but I think she does a really good job with the interactions between the characters.
Yeah, less so, though, with the plot, I think, on my part. I'm not as enamored in the very long tale that she has decided to tell here. This is 8 issues. And it's a lot.
Yeah, it is kind of drawn out for what it is. The longer story that's going on in the background here is that it turns out that Karma has another sibling. Well, it's a half-sibling who runs the Hachi Corporation and is mind-controlling the X-Men into doing some things that they should not be doing.
Yeah, and this is all in a very convoluted scheme to get Karma to convince their dad to come out of hiding so that Susan Hachi, Karma's sister, can get revenge. which is
Sure.
a lot of work and involves holding the world hostage to kill one old man who then shoots her.
Yeah. And this is how Karma gets in control of Hachi, correct?
Yeah, this is how Karma becomes a billionaire. Not
Right.
sure what Hachi does as a company. None of it makes sense.
They make kind of like horrible nanobot things that can infect you and either mind control you or just kill you, I guess.
Yeah, but that's not a billion-dollar business. At least not one with the consumer-facing focus that the stuff around the Hachi Corporation seems to do. That's really a B2B operation, and Hachi seems to be positioned as a B2C group, which is interesting. Also, I'm going to just be honest, most comic book writers have not gone to business school.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be a real sustainable concept there. But you'll notice, folks, that while this is a Northstar themed episode, we are really talking a little bit more about Karma. But there is a significant portion of this story that is about the back and forth, will they, won't they, of Kyle and Northstar, and they do end up tying the knot. And it's kind of cool. I mean, it's very much in the vein of like a wedding happening while other stuff is happening in X-Men.
So, yeah, there's a few things here I want to point out. One, I don't think that before this we've gotten enough focus on the relationship between Jean-Paul Barbier, Northstar, and Kyle Gianu, his, I guess, husband by the end of this.
His PR guy / husband.
Well, look, one thing that would be common to comic book writers is essentially running a small business where you yourself are the commodity and you have your family help you out sometimes. That's very common.
Yeah, it's a strange dynamic though. And, at least, having read the arc now that it's already all come out, it is a weird thing to see the two of them kind of bickering and going back and forth. At the beginning of this story, they had just moved in together and they're sort of going back and forth about, oh, you don't need me. And, are they going to break up or is it going to go in the opposite direction? And that stuff, it's okay. But like, if 51 is coming, like, I don't know. There's no suspense there.
Well, I think there's two things there. One, we need to be invested in a relationship before we start to buy the will they, won't they stuff. And here's the thing. Adam, you've read every issue up to this point where Kyle has appeared as Northstar's, I guess, significant other. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I mean, there's how many appearances of this character?
Not a lot
many,
before
right?
this.
Yeah.
So we don't have that strong relationship built. And because this arc happens so fast, I mean, the wedding's in 51, so that's 3 issues before you have a cover with them at an altar.
Mm-hmm.
So, it was happening based on solicits. You knew it was coming right after you bought the first issue.
Yeah, I don't think there's like a lot of actual soap opera tension here. That being said, I do like the wedding issue quite a bit. I think that there's some really cool character dynamics, and you get some really fun cameos in there from the existing X-Men team from Wolverine and the X-Men. You get some Alpha Flight characters, and I don't know. I thought it was enjoyable. The arc as a whole, I think, might suffer a little bit from its length.
I like the wedding, and the wedding is important. One thing that I think it's harder to remember back in the day, or, looking back on this now, but this was an important issue. This got a lot of press. Mm-hmm. This was back in 2011, I believe.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And do you know what wasn't legal everywhere in the United States of America 8 years ago?
Yeah, so this has a pretty monumental feel to it. Even we have some detractors of a gay wedding in here, which feels a little forced with Warbird kind of standing up against this for no real reason.
Yeah, they definitely picked the character that we could deal with being homophobic the easiest. They said, you're not that invested in Warbird. We have time to come back around to her.
Yeah, but I think what's really cool about this issue and really refreshing, I'm just checking, the published date is June 20th, 2012, is that, you know, the rest of the X-Men, this is just two people in love. And I think it's just a really great, you know, piece of visibility and representation that really needed to be in of all comics. It should be in the X-Men.
Absolutely. It absolutely should. And that's Northstar, I'll tell you, is not my favorite character, all things considered.
Mm-hmm.
It's important that he is around because there's not enough representation in X-Men to begin with. So they just need to do better across the board, and Northstar is an important historical part of that.
Well, yeah, I think Northstar has general history of just being sort of like that jerky guy from Alpha Flight, but he does have a lot of interesting sort of nuance here in terms of why he's worried about this relationship, why he's worried about getting married, and all of that does come across in Lou's writing. So I think they pull it off. It's done pretty well.
It is. But there's also a lot of other issues with Karma and her family, telling the only story you can tell with Karma, which is apparently about her evil family.
Always. The kids are cool this time. The kids are great. Her brother's not here, but now we got to have a sister.
And an evil dad. Because we just had an evil uncle. Now we have an evil dad and an evil sister.
Poor Karma. She
also
just can't catch a break.
Yeah. One thing that did bother me, they go to Madripoor in this, by the way. Tiger's there. It's not that important. But they go to a steel mill? A foundry? And it frustrates me for several reasons. One, no one's wearing their personal protective equipment, which is a huge, huge issue. Two, foundries don't just run themselves, guys.
Yeah, and it's an active plant. We're talking about like steel being poured, and it's all lit up.
That's not how any of this works.
Well, Gambit thinks it is, and you're right. It's probably endangering all of them. But there's a couple little nitpicky things here that you could go, and that's definitely one of them.
Well, let me ask you this, Adam. Have you ever been in a foundry? I'm honestly curious.
I have not. I've been in some factories before, but never a foundry.
So I've been in a couple foundries in my day, and one of the foundries I went to was described to me as one of the cleanest foundries they've ever been in.
Oh, fussy.
Adam, I've worked in manufacturing. It was probably the dirtiest plant I've ever seen. So the fact that all of them are spotless is something.
Well, and they're also having like a conversation where in the midst of something that's got to be incredibly noisy as well.
Yeah, foundries can be noisy. It's mostly the equipment around it than the foundry, though I guess when you're blasting the metal and really melting it down, you're going to be having to move a lot of CFM, and that's going to do that. Anyway, foundries aside, this arc has important things that happen in it, but as a whole, it's a little overly long and has some elements that I don't really care about. Where would you like to rank this on our list of 285 X-Men stories?
Good save. Geez. You know what? I liked this. I thought it was pretty solidly put together. It's definitely remarkable for the sort of, I almost want to say casual way that the wedding is introduced and executed, and it's done pretty darn well. But the rest of it does kind of bog it down. So I believe we have one of Marjorie Liu's X-23 runs, Songs of the Orphan Child, at 210. Mm-hmm. I think this is probably better than that. What do you think?
I would agree. This is probably more solid than that. Though I don't know how high this is going to go. Like, we have, where do we have? We have at 184, Phalanx Covenant Final Sanction, which is very different than this story, but I also kind of like it better.
Yeah. I think that's in the right realm, though, because like at 182, we've got Cannonball versus Gladiator and the X-Men in Space, and I think that arc is better than this. It's a little more fun.
Yeah.
So,
this is better than Quarantine from the Fraction run, I think, which is at 188.
Yes, I would also put it. You know what? It's probably. I'm just looking at what's right below Final Sanction, which is the Cassidy Keep arc of Gen X, A plus X5, and Gen X 10 to 11 with Omega Red.
Yeah.
I think I would put it right below Final Sanction if I were going to squeeze it in there somewhere.
So make it our new 185?
Yeah.
All right. This is Astonishing X-Men 48 to 56.
And I have to thank you because originally I think we were going to read something else for our second story and we shifted that. So thank you for no Chuck Austin this week.
Yeah, we were going to talk about that part in the Chuck Austin run where Northstar shows up and tries to stop a bomb and it blows up and kills a kid in his arms or whatever happens. And I'll be honest, between not loving that Marjorie Liu story and the last story on our list, which I'm sure you'll figure out based on context clues, while important, is also bad. And I was like, this Northstar's important, and I don't want to just be like dumping on his stories for 3 issues straight. That's rude. And I don't want to read 5 issues of Chuck Austin writing X-Men. I was having a bad day. I didn't want to deal with that.
I think this is a wise decision. So what do we choose instead here, Zach? We've got a follow-up to Supernovas here, right?
We do. This is X-Men Annual from 2007, written by Mike Carey with art by Mark Brooks.
Kind of wild seeing Mark Brooks doing like kind of cartoony interior work. This is wild.
Yeah, him not being painted is very, very odd, because you can tell it's Mark Brooks, but it doesn't look like the guy who does all those very fancy covers.
Well, he's being inked here by either Jamie Mendoza or Victor Olazaba, and I'd be real curious to know what his pencils looked like at this time, because, you know, just having been at NYCC, his line was like, it was endless. It was wrapped around constantly. And, you know, the quality of what it is that he's producing is just insane. I mean, it's absolutely gorgeous. So the art here is kind of a surprise because, you know, I don't think I realized that he did interiors at all. And it's kind of fun to see him pre-now, right?
Right. Story-wise, this is interesting. This is a story about Rogue, Cable, and Mystique, I think?
Yes. And virtual reality.
There is some virtual reality. We have to, you know, hack in. There's trouble in Internet 3.0, Batman.
Hack the planet.
Oh my gosh. Okay, wait, hold on.
Uh-oh.
Adam.
Yes.
You're aware of the Hoxpox, right? And the houses and the powers and all of those
yes.
joyous things.
Yes, the Hoxes, the Poxes, and the Doxes.
You know how the surprise breakout character of Hoxpox has been Cypher, Doug Ramsey?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
You know how Cypher's hacking Krakoa? He's hacking the planet right now. And
he is. He's hacking the planet.
Oh, those books are wild. X-Men has just come out as we read this. X-Men, which, spoiler alert, I guess, pulls on a thread from Mike Carey that no one had pulled on, which is the Children of the Vault.
Yep.
Which, again, as Supernovas is number 14 on our list of best X-Men stories ever, so we care about it.
Yeah, this story is kind of an, I don't even know if it's necessary, but it's a good epilogue to the story while not being as good as that story. So we have Rogue trying to rescue Northstar and what's Northstar sister's name?
Aurora?
Aurora, thank you. I'm sorry, I've never been a huge Alpha Flight guy.
Never read Alpha Flight. Never read it.
No.
I keep thinking I should. At least I should read the Byrne run. He's kind of a jerk. But I've heard the John Byrne Alpha Flight actually rules.
Well, yeah. I mean, guy's talented. So they basically hitch a ride on Maria Hill's shield helicarrier and want to use her VR system so that Cable and who else? I guess it's Emma Frost remotely are going to reimplant the Beaubier's thoughts from childhood so that they're not like a mess anymore. And things don't go right because Avalon is in this story.
Well, Avalon is a place. I think you
Oh,
might
not
be
Avalon.
talking about Exodus.
I'm sorry.
You talking about Exodus?
Yes, Exodus is in this story. Oh, man. Yeah, who's even kind of having these like time travel-y visions. Where is he at the beginning of this issue? They call it Nowhere or Nowhere.
I don't know. Exodus.
Okay.
I don't think he had been in a story for like 10 years at this point. It was less than... No, wait. Because he's in the end of the Austin run where he's written completely out of character. He's serving on the Brotherhood, not even leading it. It's weird.
Oh, he's such a weird character. And he's here with an interesting team as well. He's got Random, Frenzy, and...
Tempo?
Yes, Tempo. All right. This is a fun team.
Yeah, these are his new acolytes.
Mm-hmm.
And he's upset because, wouldn't you know it, the House of M happened, and there's only 198 mutants left. He's got 4 of them with him, and he's like, well, I guess S.H.I.E.L.D. has a bad Cerebro. We could check to make sure. But let's go check. Let's go check. Did we miss anyone? I know the X-Men got a bunch, but they don't like me because I did terrorists to them.
Well, and the way this all goes down is just kind of silly. Like it ends, like midway through the story, the VR restorations session gets interrupted. So Northstar and Aurora start tearing the place apart. And, you know, there's these weird fight scenes that don't really need to be happening. Because really all Exodus, why do I keep calling him Avalon?
Because that was his house for a while.
Yeah, I know, but that's weird. That's like, I don't know. It's like calling somebody townhouse or I don't know. But yeah, like he could have just asked, right? He could have said, "Hey, are there any mutants? Can I borrow your Cerebro for a couple minutes?"
Guys, I know my name is Paris Benet Depuy, I believe is how I pronounce it in the original French. But I may have been slightly a terrorist for a while, but would really like to use your supercomputer to connect myself to all the minds in the world.
I mean, it's all he wants to do. He's basically like, can I borrow your phone for a couple minutes? You know, but
it's a very good phone, but yes.
Yes. I mean, I do appreciate that this is revisiting a regular bit, which is that whenever Maria Hill allows anything to happen on her helicarrier, the helicarrier pretty much is going to get destroyed before the end of the issue.
There's a reason why Maria Hill doesn't like mutants. It's because they've all sucked for her.
Yeah. It's like, hey, you know, can we just check on a prisoner you have? Or can we, you know, just use this thing? And then inevitably, like, big holes start appearing in the side of the ship. So anyway, everything's cool at the end. Northstar and Aurora are back to normal. Mystique and Rogue kind of have a moment here. And there's a little teaser at the end with Apocalypse.
You mean Mr. Sinister. Apocalypse was dead at this time. Adam, you're just getting all of your mutants all confused.
Is that... Oh, yeah, I guess it is.
Yeah, he's the one with the red diamond on his head. He loves the capes.
He doesn't have a red diamond. He's just blue here. He just looks like blue. I don't know. He's only in 2 panels here. I thought it was...
It's Shadows. Does he have a cape?
No, he doesn't have a cape. Where's his cape?
I bet he has a cape. Hold on. Mark Brooks,
nope.
Mr. Sinister.
No cape.
He's the one with the cape.
He does have boots, but if he was wearing his cape, you wouldn't be able to see Exodus in this panel.
But
I swear to God, he does no cape.
But cape.
He's just a blue guy with a blue hand.
Mark
I know
Brooks,
I'm wrong.
feel bad.
But Mark Brooks, or whoever colored this, you got to help me out here. He's not a blue guy. He's got pale white skin.
He need cape. He need cape.
Yeah.
Give Sinister cape.
Okay, so Exodus is not named Avalon, and the character at the end of this issue is not Apocalypse.
No.
This has been reading is fun with Adam.
So the fun thing about this is, while I agree as a standalone, it can be seen as maybe superfluous. This does a good job setting up further stories for Mike Carey's run, specifically the Blinded by the Light story that leads into Messiah Complex.
Mm-hmm.
So it's necessary. It's a necessary table setting thing, but because they're doing it in one shot, they have to add this weird plot. And, you know, it's good on them to say, hey, let's also fix Northstar because Mark Millar broke him once, and now we just got to put all those pieces back together.
Yeah, I mean, he and Aurora were kind of used in Supernovas to negative effect, so it gives them a little bit of a reset.
To be fair, before that, in Enemy of the State, Mark Millar made him super evil.
Yeah. So
man,
we're
you know how
back.
Northstar died in 3 different comics in the same month once, and he was the only gay character like Marvel had that was quote unquote major.
I did not know that. That's pretty terrible.
Like it was multiple editorial offices. It was a bunch of oversight, and just oofda, did not look good.
Oh man, that's really rough.
Don't worry, he's married and happy now.
Yeah, I'm not surprised that Mark Millar was involved in that, but okay.
Where do we want to rank this story? It's not as good as Supernovas.
No, it isn't. It is a fun standalone story, and you're right. It's a good transition. So if you are reading Mike Carey's run, like you shouldn't skip this. It also provides some good setup for some of the things that happen between Mystique and Rogue later as well. So, I don't know. Give me like a starting point here. Where are you thinking?
Well, is it better or worse than the Northstar wedding arc from Astonishing?
I think it's tighter than that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, like it's really direct about what it wants to do, and it accomplishes it.
Is it better than Glob Loves Man Kills?
Where's Glob right now?
162.
162. See, that might be a little too high. Well,
then is it better or worse than the first Gambit mini?
That might be a good place to put it. Is maybe below the Gambit mini and above X-Men Origins Jean Grey.
That would make it 165.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good place. I'm looking at what's around there. It's better than like the cocaine arc of Wolverine.
Cocaine.
It's better than Protect and Serve. It's better than Adam X in Alaska. Yeah. So let's do that. 165? That seem fair?
Yep. That is the 2007 X-Men Annual. Last story. This one's the most directly about Northstar.
Wow. We can't do a Northstar episode without having... We have to talk about this issue.
We have to talk about this issue. This issue is Alpha Flight 106, written by the consummate professional Scott Lobdell, with art by Mark Pasela. Let's just start right now. This was the early 90s.
Yes, this issue comes out March of 1992.
There's a lot going on in the world right then. And this was one way of Marvel trying to be progressive in the most 1992 Marvel way possible, which means it's not going to be subtle, may not even be particularly good. But this is a weird one.
Well, let's set up the contrast here.
Yeah, okay. Adam, go.
Yeah, let's set up a little bit of the contrast here, because the first thing I think we need to recognize is that the basic story of this issue involves a couple of things that are very, at least the way in which they're introduced, are presented in an almost sort of after-school special type presentation. Not in terms of what you're seeing, but in terms of what the dialogue is. And so this is the issue where Northstar comes out of the closet and says publicly that he's gay. And the story does end with a press release. But the other aspect of this story is that he discovers at the bottom of a trash can a discarded baby who was born with HIV, and then it's later described as AIDS. And this becomes sort of like a public thing that brings out a former superhero named Major Maple Leaf, who had a son who passed away from AIDS. So,
and specifically because his son was in the gay community, and it's, the world didn't rally around his son like this baby who, was a baby, and sexual orientation wasn't really running through its mind at the time. So it was just an innocent to the world versus his son who did nothing wrong but live his life.
Right.
And the world, because of the way AIDS was treated in the early 90s, treated him very poorly.
So we're starting with this as the content. Now, what's wild about this issue, and I've always been curious about this, is that it is paired with the art stylings of Mark Pacella. Never quite known how to say Mark's name.
Marky P.
But Mark, I think at this point was most well known for being the initial fill-in artist on X-Force, because his line work, at least, not his, his actual understanding of anatomy, which is wildly crazy in this, but he's got a sort of like Liefeld-esque energy to his line work.
This is 1992.
Right. So this is like super macho action art. And that is what makes this such a strange pairing, is because you're hearing dialogue that could be a conversation with two people sitting across from each other in a room. And yet we're pairing it with these two enormous Hulk-sized characters. Like Northstar looks like he's so jacked up on roids. It's nuts. And they're just beating the hell out of each other through buildings. Every window in a skyscraper gets smashed out in a panel. I mean, it's like so ridiculous.
It's a lot. So the one thing, and I was thinking about this earlier today, I think you could even frame it as progressive in the very specific sense that Marvel didn't stop a character from being, who is gay and expressing his sexuality to the world for the first time in like a big 2 comic. They didn't stop it from just being a giant 1992 ass action comic. Here's what happens. I'm sure you've seen the panel, but here's what happens when Northstar does come out. He's flying through the air, Dragon Ball Z energy lines coming off of him, reaching forward and pulling back for a punch, and screaming the paragraph, "For while I am not inclined to discuss my sexuality with people for whom it is none of their business, I am gay." And then he punches a dude.
Well, and as he's punching him, there's another 5 word balloons. And then you go to the next page and Major Maple Leaf is choking Northstar to the ground. And again, paragraph after paragraph of text. I mean, it's not a lot of dialogue, but you can't imagine these two having this conversation while they're throwing each other at trucks and or like there's literally a fire that was caused by tipping over a moving van happening in the background of this page. It's wild.
Yeah, this comic's a lot. It's very distilled 1992. It's got that after school special, very special episode feel to it. The baby dies, by the way, guys. Just to make everything worse, at the end of this comic, the baby does pass away. Because they have to tie up the loose ends and they can't have Northstar have a kid.
Right, because that's the other thing we didn't mention is that he very publicly adopts this child.
Yeah, Northstar becomes a dad in this one for a good 20 minutes.
Right. And then the last thing we see is a front page story about him coming out publicly, in the newspaper.
Which good for Jean-Paul.
Yeah. Yeah. It's such a an interesting artifact of its time. It really is, because it's not, I would not say this is a good issue of comics, but
no, it's a bad issue of comics.
Yeah, but even so, like what we were just talking about with the wedding issue, which obviously is a much better written and better illustrated, storyline. This is still a really important artifact of representation in the industry, and just of its of 1992. Like, this is very 1992.
Yeah, it's dealing with the way that culture dealt with homosexuality and the AIDS crisis in the 90s, which is something you wouldn't see in comic books. There's a lot of interesting and good things happening in this. The storytelling, however, is not good, and objectively, it's a bad book. So it's weird to judge. This is a weird one to put on the list.
Yeah, it's very strange. I mean, it suffers so much because of its execution, but its execution is also in line with everything that was happening right then. You know what I mean? So I love your take on this, that it's actually bolder to not slow it down, find a less imagey artist for this issue, and actually just let it be this crazy, fist fight. I like that take. I never really thought about it that way.
I think bold's the right word. I'm not sure good or the best choice could be applied there, but it sure was bold.
Absolutely not. I don't know if I'm praising that choice, but it's an interesting one to consider. So how good this is, art-wise, we are... I don't think we're as bad as 280, which is What If Wolverine Was Lord of the Vampires during Inferno.
Oh, no. No, we're not. We're not anywhere. I think we're a lot higher than that.
We are, but the reason I bring that up though is just we're in that universe of sort of everyone wanting to look like Liefeld or Lee, and this is definitely doing that former style. But there's enough content here that makes this more worthwhile, I think.
Yeah, here's the thing. I know there are people out here where this comic means so much to them.
Oh, sure.
And I do not want to take anything away from you. If you love this comic and it's important to you, it should be. And you should be, real happy that it exists, and that, frankly, that comics featuring gay characters, while not where they need to be by any means, have gotten a heck of a lot better.
Right. I mean, this is not Love and Rockets, but at the same time, it has a huge cultural impact due to how big the sales were of Marvel Comics at that point. Think about how many people got this in their hands.
Yeah, they got positive representation for the first time.
Yeah,
and got to see, okay, well, I like all of these big burly men flying at the screen yelling. This one also likes big burly men. And he's still cool. Look at this team. Look at this team of Alpha Flight. Northstar is the second best character on this specific team of Alpha Flight. Number one's Puck, and no one can beat that, and I'm sorry. But Northstar's a strong number 2 here.
Yeah, I'm looking somewhere in, let's see. How do you feel about it stacked up against 233, which is New Mutants 98 to 100?
This is worse than New Mutants 98 to 100.
Okay.
I legitimately think that's true. I do think that this is probably better than Marvel Team Up number 19, which is that Wolverine story. Probably better than Exiles 100 at 243.
Yep. Better than that first Zeb Wells New Mutants arc?
I think that first is, I think Return of the Legion's better.
Okay. So that's where we're going to put it. 243.
Yeah, this will be 243. Which is a good showing for Jean-Paul Barbier.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, guys, if you've never read this, it's an infamous issue, and I definitely think it's worth checking out, both for what it is trying to do, what it somewhat succeeds in doing, and then just what it means as sort of like this totem of 1992. Like it's just an interesting artifact.
Yeah, it's worth finding, and that's important too. So that's 3 stories. We're done with our episode.
Yeah, we can move back from Canada.
Look, I don't want to. I'm getting under the weather, if you couldn't tell during this recording session, and they have free healthcare there. I don't want to go to the doctor. That's a $35 copay. And then I have to do anything that doesn't even count my co-insurance, and it's just...
I gotta say, if it wasn't so cold, I'd consider it. I would.
I already live in Ohio. I could move to Toronto and have literally no change in my, like I'd have, like, an extra week that's a little colder. I could live with that.
Yeah, you could probably handle that.
Yeah, Toronto's... Actually, well, getting into Ontario is like 4 hours up the road. It's not too bad, though.
Yep.
Anyway, thank you, Jeffrey Worrell, for going over to patreon.com and supporting the show, having us talk about stuff. If you want to be like Jeff, you can go on over to Patreon and do that. Throw money our way. We'll do fabulous prizes and make a whole episode about your stuff. It'll be really good. What do I normally plug here? Probably the new podcast that's going to come out on November 1st, which is Boku no X-Anime, which is the X-Men anime podcast that me and Luz Bianca are going to do. I made a logo. I'm very proud. It uses Sailor Moon and Naruto font.
Don't pretend you know what either of those are.
I know that Naruto is the yellow orange boy that runs with his hands behind his back like some sort of dingus, and I have a cultural awareness of Sailor Moon.
Oh, God. Now I'm imagining those guys that did that at Area 51. Did you see that?
Yes, of course I saw the Area 51 Naruto guys. If they Naruto run, they'll go faster than those bullets. Oh, it's so good, guys.
We're also in Dawn of X, so our docs coverage is beginning, right?
Yeah, as of this week, you would have seen the coverage already written for the article To Me, My X-Men, also known as Talksmen, written by the Hoxpox Talks crew of Chris Edelman and Robert Secundus. They are doing some excellent work, and I'm excited to get that going. And then this week, Mareaders starts covering Marauders, and that's Vishal Gulapali and Christy Edelman. And
I love these names; they're great.
Oh my gosh, I spent too much time thinking of bad puns.
Anything else you got to plug, Zach? Where can people find you?
Xavier Files, it's where you get all the latest and greatest of all this stuff. Also, Xavier Files on Twitter. Xavier Files, when I say it, is just a website. It's where I live. It's my home away from home. That I mess with at home on my tablet. Anyway, Adam, do your thing. I'm struggling tonight.
All right, guys, you can always follow me on Twitter at Arthur Stacy. We are in week 3 of the Bish and Jubes Collected Edition Trade Paperback Kickstarter. Doing great as of this recording. I think we're almost up to like 3 times the initial goal, which is fantastic. But the really cool thing is that right now we are in this like stretch goal part of the campaign where we're getting some really cool artists to come in and do trading cards. So I'm doing the first 2. Gleb Melnikov is doing Mr. Sinister and Strife 5. And we've got actually New Mutants Dead Souls artist Adam Gorham coming on to do cards of Eva Bell and Future Beast. I'm not going to tell you who the next artists will be because, well, we have to hit those levels before I would be able to activate those commissions. But I'll suffice it to say that there are still some cool surprises if we can get up to these higher levels. So if you haven't ordered your book yet, go on over to Kickstarter, look for the Bish and Jubes Collected Edition. You can get to it through our Twitter accounts as well, and order your copy today. If you live internationally, between the last time that I recorded to this show, I've added a tier for international shipping as well. So if you live not in the United States, you can get a copy. And,
you can, and it's well worth it, boys and girls, and non-binary folk, and really just whoever. All y'all should buy this one.
All y'all. Thank you, Zach. What are we doing next week?
Next week is Halloween, so we're going to do something spooky. We haven't decided yet. We'll let you know.
Yeah, it'll be super spooky.
It's going to be pretty dang spooky, guys. There's going to be demons and goblins and jump scares.
We're just going to recover Inferno.
Ooh, we could do a Inferno reread and see what happens. No, we'll come up with something better. But until then, this has been Valiant, and we hope you survived the experience.